When a man truly embodies Stoic values, something profound happens. He leaves an emotional imprint that never fades. This isn't about manipulation or trying to make her miss you. It's about becoming a man whose energy, composure, and discipline are so rare that once experienced, they can't be forgotten. When you live with self control, when you speak with purpose, when you carry yourself with quiet confidence, you become a memory that lingers in her mind, even when she tries to move on. Because while physical presence fades, emotional presence echoes. It stays in the corners of her thoughts, reminding her of the man who didn't need validation, who didn't chase approval, who simply was. Most men think women hold on because of affection, but that's not the truth. Women hold on because of impact, because at some point you showed her a version of masculine energy that she didn't expect. You weren't swayed by her moods, you didn't beg for her attention, and you didn't lose yourself trying to please her. That stability becomes unforgettable. It's the kind of calm that exposes chaos. When you stop reacting, she starts reflecting. She remembers the peace that existed around you, the way you listened without judgment, the way you carried yourself without seeking control. You became a mirror to her emotions, showing her what balance and restraint look like. And even if she walks away, that reflection stays. When you operate from a place of stoic strength, your silence becomes a force of its own. It doesn't come from anger or bitterness. It comes from understanding that your worth doesn't need constant validation. You don't chase what's already been tested. You allow space to reveal truth. And that's the part that unsettles her most. Because deep down, she knows that while you've moved forward, she's still trying to understand what made you different. What made your energy so composed when others were desperate? What made your presence so grounding when others were chaotic? It's not just attraction, it's the emotional safety that you once offered without trying. You see, most connections fade because they were built on emotion, not depth. But when your presence comes from discipline and self awareness, it leaves an emotional blueprint. She might find other people, she might fill her days with noise and distractions, but every so often she'll feel that quiet comparison, the reminder of the man who never needed to prove himself. That's when she realizes that the connection wasn't about attachment, it was about resonance. You were the calm in her storm, and storms always remember where they found peace. So never underestimate the power of your presence when it's rooted in purpose. You don't have to chase to be remembered, you don't have to beg to be valued. Just live by your code, walk with quiet strength, and let your absence remind her what your presence once brought. Sometimes the most unforgettable thing you can do is simply move forward without noise. Women often can't let go of a man who masters the art of detachment, not because he withholds love, but because his strength lies in emotional independence. Detachment doesn't mean not caring, it means caring deeply without being controlled by outcomes. When you no longer need validation, when you no longer depend on her reactions to define your worth, you shift the entire dynamic. Most people seek power through attention, but the real power is in peace, in knowing that whether she stays or leaves, your sense of self remains untouched. That's when she starts feeling something she can't explain. Your calm unsettles her chaos. Your silence speaks louder than any words could. The more a man chases certainty in someone else, the more he loses control over himself. But when he stops trying to force connection, when he focuses instead on his growth, purpose, and peace, something changes. The energy she once felt from your attention now turns inward. And women feel that shift. They notice when your focus is no longer on them but on yourself. That's when curiosity and longing begin to grow because deep down, people crave what they can't fully possess. And nothing is more attractive than a man who has mastered himself, whose emotions are disciplined, whose boundaries are firm, and whose energy can't be easily swayed. The Stoic man understands that attachment often breeds suffering. He knows that trying to hold on to something that's slipping away only weakens his grip on himself. Instead, he practices acceptance, not as resignation, but as wisdom. He doesn't argue with reality. If she's distant, he gives her space. If she pulls away, he doesn't chase. He allows life to unfold, confident that whatever is meant for him will never need to be begged for. That quiet acceptance is what draws her back, because while others compete for her attention, he remains grounded, unshaken, and free. And that freedom, that inner stillness, becomes magnetic. She starts to wonder how you can move on so peacefully, how you can care without needing to control, how you can remain warm but untouchable. It's confusing for her because it's rare. Most men react out of fear, but you respond with calm understanding. That's not indifference, that's mastery. You've learned that letting go doesn't mean losing, it means trusting. And that trust in yourself radiates power. In time, she begins to feel the loss not because of your absence, but because of what your detachment represents: peace, maturity, and emotional depth. You didn't just walk away from her, you walked toward yourself. And in doing so, you became the kind of man that's hard to forget and even harder to replace. That's the paradox. The less you try to hold on, the more you leave a mark that never fades. Sometimes letting go is the most powerful way to be remembered. When a woman realizes you no longer seek her validation, something powerful happens inside her. It's not immediate, but it's undeniable. She starts to feel a strange mix of confusion and attraction because for the first time, you're not orbiting around her world. You've built your own, and that change in energy flips the dynamic completely. You see, women are deeply intuitive. They can sense when your attention has shifted from needing them to improving yourself, when your energy no longer revolves around their moods, their approval, or their responses. They begin to question their place in your life. That questioning creates curiosity, and curiosity in the language of attraction is everything. At first, she may act indifferent. She might even tell herself she's fine without you. But when she notices that your confidence no longer wavers, when your silence doesn't come from bitterness but from peace, it unsettles her. Emotional independence is rare. Most men react, beg, explain, or chase, but you stand still in quiet certainty. You've stopped trying to prove your worth to someone who couldn't see it, and that shift makes her feel the weight of what she took for granted. The very effort she once resisted now becomes the calm she misses. She starts replaying the times you gave her attention, the moments you listened, the way you once made her feel seen, and she wonders where that energy went. But the truth is, it didn't vanish, it just returned to its rightful place. Within you, you stopped pouring your value into her perception and began investing it in your purpose, your mindset, your growth. That's when she starts noticing your glow up, not just physically, but mentally. The way you carry yourself now feels different. You don't seek reactions, you attract them. You don't chase connection, you inspire it. And while she might not say it out loud, deep down she starts to regret losing that version he was willing to give, but now gives only to himself. The Stoic man knows that emotional control is not about suppression, but direction. You've redirected your focus from external validation to inner strength, from needing love to embodying peace. And that's what makes you unforgettable, because peace in a world of emotional chaos is rare. When she sees you grounded and unbothered, she starts questioning her own decisions. She remembers the comfort your presence brought, the balance, the steadiness, and she realizes it wasn't your attention she craved, it was your energy. The same energy you now protect. That's the irony of self respect. It draws back what distance once pushed away. When you no longer seek her to feel whole, she begins to feel the emptiness your absence created. She sees that you were never cold, you were centered, never detached, just disciplined. And in that realization, she learns that the man who no longer needs her is the one she can't stop thinking about. There comes a point when your silence speaks louder than any words you could ever say. When she realizes that you're not arguing, not explaining, not chasing, something shifts in her mind. At first, she mistakes your calmness for disinterest, but over time, that silence begins to echo in her thoughts. It's in the moments when she reaches for her phone to check if you've texted, only to find nothing. It's when she scrolls through old conversations and wonders why you no longer reach out. That quiet becomes a mirror, reflecting back her choices and making her question whether letting you go was really her decision or her mistake. When a man pulls back not out of anger, but out of strength, it forces a woman to confront her own emotions. She starts remembering the things you used to say, the way you made her feel, and the way she used to take your attention for granted. Your absence becomes presence, your distance becomes her focus, and what once felt like power on her part, the ability to ignore or test you, starts to fade when she realizes you've stopped playing the game. You're no longer emotionally available on demand, no longer offering your energy freely. That's when curiosity turns into longing, because deep down, every woman respects a man who respects himself enough to walk away from what no longer serves him. This isn't about manipulation or ego, it's about presence and self respect. When you choose peace over pursuit, you reclaim your emotional power. She begins to notice that you're not reacting, not chasing, not trying to convince her of your worth. And that detachment, that emotional neutrality creates mystery. She starts wondering what you're doing, who you're becoming, and whether someone else now receives the attention she once dismissed. And the irony is, she begins to miss you, not because you begged for her love, but because you stopped. There's something magnetic about a man who's grounded, calm, and confident in his own silence. It's not coldness, it's control. You've stopped giving her emotional highs and lows, and that's what creates the void she starts to feel. The Stoic man doesn't react to loss, he refines himself through it. Your stillness isn't emptiness, it's strength. And in a world full of noise, your composure becomes unforgettable. That's when she starts comparing. No one feels quite like you did. No one's presence offers the same balance. And slowly, she begins to see the truth. You never lost her. She lost the man who could have given her peace. The silence that once confused her now humbles her. The man she once thought she could replace becomes the one she can't forget. And in that stillness, she realizes something powerful. It wasn't your words, your affection, or your effort that made you unforgettable. It was your ability to walk away without losing yourself. When you stop seeking validation from her, something powerful happens. She starts to seek it from you. It's almost paradoxical, yet it's one of the strongest psychological triggers in attraction. When you detach from needing her approval, when your happiness no longer depends on how she feels about you, you become unpredictable. You stop living in reaction to her moods, her messages, or her approval. Instead, you stand firm in your own identity, and that kind of inner strength draws her curiosity back to you like a magnet, because what once made her feel secure, your constant attention, is gone. And now she's the one trying to decode you. Women are drawn to certainty, but they crave mystery. When you're no longer constantly available, no longer texting her to fill the silence, she starts to wonder what changed. Did he stop caring? Did he move on? Has someone else caught his attention? That questioning becomes emotional tension. She begins to remember how it felt when you used to prioritize her, when you gave her your energy freely. And the realization hits. Your validation used to feed her ego, but now your silence challenges her self image. She starts to chase that feeling again, not because she's suddenly fallen back in love, but because losing your attention feels like losing part of her own worth. This shift doesn't happen overnight, it builds slowly through your calm consistency. You no longer try to prove anything. You're not performing, not chasing, not competing for her attention. You've stopped showing her that she's the center of your emotional universe. Instead, you've replaced that energy with purpose, focusing on your growth, your goals, and your peace. That's when she begins to miss what she once dismissed. She starts noticing that while she's still stuck wondering about you, you've moved forward. You've evolved. And the man she thought she had figured out now feels like a mystery she can't solve. The truth is, validation seeking kills attraction because it gives away your power. It tells her that her opinion defines your value. But when you stop doing that, when you truly understand that your worth doesn't come from her attention, something incredible happens. You radiate confidence. You become rare. You become the kind of man who doesn't chase attention because he attracts it effortlessly. She begins to respect you again, not because you try to earn her approval, but because you stop needing it. And that's the paradox. The more you validate yourself, the more she wants your validation. The less you chase her, the more she feels the loss of your energy. What once felt ordinary, your constant availability, now feels precious. She realizes too late that the attention she took for granted was the reflection of a man who truly cared, a man who was willing to give but not willing to lose himself in the process. In the end, your silence and self assurance speak louder than any words ever could. When you finally stop chasing her and focus on becoming the best version of yourself, you trigger something deep within her psychology, a sense of loss mixed with admiration. Women are naturally drawn to growth, to men who keep evolving rather than standing still. When she sees that you are not broken by her distance, that you haven't fallen apart after she pulled away, but instead have used that space to improve yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, she begins to see you differently. Your silence is no longer a sign of defeat. It becomes a reflection of strength, self control, and independence. You transform from the man she once knew into the man she secretly always wanted but never thought you'd become. Growth has a magnetic energy. When you evolve, when you level up your mindset, your goals, and your standards, she starts to feel the difference. You're no longer reactive. You're no longer waiting for her validation or attention to feel complete. You're focused on your own path, and that shift creates a quiet confidence that she can sense. Even from a distance, it makes her question her own decisions. She starts to wonder, did I underestimate him? Did I let go of someone who was just getting started? That uncertainty keeps you in her mind, not because you're trying to impress her, but because your progress speaks louder than anything you could ever say. This is what Stoicism truly embodies: emotional discipline, not apathy. You're not cold, you're composed, you're not distant, you're grounded. You no longer allow her to dictate your emotions or your actions. You control your reactions, your focus, and your peace. And this balance creates a powerful shift. While she may have once seen you as predictable or overly invested, now she sees a man who stands firm in his values, who doesn't bend at the will of fleeting emotions. That kind of energy is rare. And when a woman feels it, she can't help but be drawn back to it. She'll notice that your conversations are calmer, your presence more peaceful, and your energy less desperate. You're no longer trying to fix or prove anything. You've accepted the outcome, whatever it may be, and that acceptance radiates confidence. She sees you out there living your life, pursuing your passions, maybe improving your fitness, career, or mindset, and that visual of your evolution begins to haunt her. Because while she might have thought walking away would make you crumble, what she didn't expect was that it would make you unstoppable. And that's the truth. Growth is the greatest revenge, the purest form of closure, and the most silent way to win back respect. When you stop chasing and start becoming, she'll feel it in ways words can't describe. The man who once needed her now stands tall without her, and that realization stirs emotions she can't easily suppress. In the end, your evolution becomes a mirror that reflects what she lost, a man of purpose, peace, and power.